Welcome to Connecting Communities. I'm your host, Nancy Bacci. With me today is Matt Mitchell, our new Prevention Services Manager for the City of Somerville, cited in the Health and Human Services Department. Thank you for coming on board, Matt.
Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. So we should preface this with you are brand new. You are 3 weeks new. So you are learning about the city, about events, about the work your position entails, and we decided the best way to really acclimate you is to throw you on a TV show. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Before we start speaking about National Night Out, which we know is coming up on August 7th, I'd like to hear a little bit more about your background.
Sure. So thank you again. I have been working in the nonprofit field for the last 7 years. So I graduated college. I went to the College of the Holy Cross with a bachelor's in psychology. And once I graduated, I was looking to get into a field where I could directly work with humans and provide some type of care. So I started with adolescents, working in the residential programs, and for individuals really struggling with some difficult things in their lives, mostly around abuse and neglect. And then once I tried to look for a different path, and so I decided to work with adults, particularly around mental health struggles, in residential settings again. And so over the course of the beginning of the 3 years there, I was doing direct management work with community support counselors, work around person-centered work, and we really helped people with their independent living skills and get through some tough times. And then for the past 2 years, I've been working as the director of all of our residential services. And at that point, I was looking for a little bit of a change, which brought me to this position.
Interesting. So the trajectory has really been young people, older people, direct service care, all of that. And now, do you envision that the skills you were able to acquire over your time there will transfer into the work that you're doing here?
Absolutely. You know, I think it's really given me a good foundation to understand some of the struggles that people have with the things that they deal with. And I think it only lends well to that compassionate approach that comes with prevention and the services that we provide here in Somerville.
Well, it's great. I mean, the Office of Prevention encompasses Somerville Cares About Prevention, as well as the Six City Tobacco Collaborative, and really understanding the impact that these issues can have on community and the need to develop a really strong rapport with the community. So coming in new, I think really gives you that opportunity to see Somerville in a way that some of us who've been here for a long time no longer see it. It's interesting, and I look forward to continuing to hear from you as you connect with people and see the different perspectives that the community brings. So when you saw the position advertised, I'm sure you've heard of Somerville because everybody's heard of Somerville.
Of course.
What really inspired you, though, to want to work in municipal government?
I think the biggest thing that drew me to Somerville particularly is the approach that they've taken over the years. I think it's been well known that they've been at the forefront, and I guess I can say we have been at the forefront of a lot of initiatives around prevention work and providing good quality service to the people in the city. And I think when I was looking for that shift, I wanted to be part of a good system that knew kind of what they were doing and how they wanted to do it and have a good direction. And I think I'm really a part of something pretty special here.
Great. I mean, it is, you know, we're fortunate, you know, if you live here, work here, whatever the connection is, it really is a great city that I think isn't afraid to shine a bright light on issues that are difficult to talk about. So I think your background in mental health care certainly provides the skill set that's needed in order to have those difficult conversations with community members and really position yourself as being seen as a resource for those community members and their families.
Absolutely. You know, I think one of the things, being a licensed social worker, you know, it's been something where you have those hard conversations, but it's been nice to understand and see from a different perspective and then offer your support whatever way people want that to look and really tailor it to what the needs are of the people that you work with.
It's very interesting when you think of that with the social work background. As you know, we've continued to add social workers in the Health and Human Services Department to really encompass all the needs of our community, and we're realizing that those basic skill sets, whether you're trained as a social worker or just, you know, have an empathy-based personality, really are so vital in dealing with the variety of people that come across all of our paths. We're seeing that in our law enforcement, in our first responders, really the need to almost take yourself out of the role that you're in and just realize that when you're providing assistance to someone, all of a sudden you become all of these other things that maybe when you woke up on a Thursday morning you didn't think you were going to be, but you really need to tailor your response to the situation. And I think as more and more issues come to the surface in communities, I think the burden really is on all of us to be responsive in that way.
Yeah, and I think, you can't make any assumptions about anything that is going to help people. One thing that might help one person may not be very helpful for another. So, I think the tailoring and the really understanding people's perspectives and what they're going through and kind of how they can see themselves going forward really drives a lot of the work that I've done, and I think it very much is lending well to what I've known here in Somerville.
Yeah, I think too, we're fortunate. We have a very engaged and active community.
Oh,
They tell you when you're doing good,
Absolutely.
they tell you when they're not pleased with you, but I think the important thing to remember is they're always willing to pony up their time and their energy to work towards a resolution as well. We're very much focused on solution-based outcomes and really wanting to walk the path to get there.
Absolutely. I think one of the greatest things I've seen so far in my time here is the amount of activity with people in so many different forms, in community, and budget talks and everything. People are so active and really wanting to make sure that their voice is being heard and that the city is doing what is in the best interest of everybody.
I'm glad that you referenced budgets because we did expose you to that as well. We're really a big fan of kind of throwing you in the deep end, with some pool noodles around you to help you swim, but to kind of see what happens. So having experienced your first budget time and really seeing the level of engagement from community, our elected officials, the city staff, everyone really working together to make the vision that we all have happen in this city.
I think I've been impressed by the level of candidness, and the level of thoughtfulness that people have had in their responses and asking questions and the things that are going to really be important to people. And it's just been so refreshing to see on so many different levels that I am certainly looking forward to how it's going to look in the future.
Wonderful. And that brings us to National Night Out because as we also like to do, we just hire you and now there's a huge event coming up in just a few weeks. Absolutely. So as we've mentioned, it is August 7th, pardon me, August 7th, I was thinking the first Tuesday of the month, so August 7th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Foss Park. Yes. So as someone who is new to Somerville and just kind of learning about us, tell us a little bit about what you've learned about National Night Out, what you're excited to see happen.
Sure. So I think whenever I look at something new, I always try to understand the historical perspective of it. So I went back and I looked a little bit about the overall history of National Night Out, and I know this is the 15th year that Somerville will be hosting an event, but it's the 35th anniversary as well. And so it started with just, a guy who was part of his his community watch, and he wanted to expand that into a newsletter, and he expanded that into a newsletter, and then he realized that there could be more done, so he expanded it into an association, and then eventually it became National Night Out in 1984, I believe. And I think it's been interesting to see the development of it and the progress of it over time, that evolution where, it's particularly and primarily been focused around law enforcement and kind of making that connection with the community. But here in Somerville, we do it a little bit differently, and we involve community partners and people in the city that, everybody is going to come across, not only the police, but the residents. And I think it's been very interesting to see as I've been getting up and running over the last few weeks, to see the level of response by community partners and the law enforcement to say, yep, this is something that we want to go all in on every year.
So as someone who, again, is looking at it with brand new set of eyes, why do you think it's important that the city hosts an event like this, and kind of what is the value to Somerville in being a part of this?
I think the biggest thing for me is that Somerville has always been that forefront of driving how we can connect with people and making it a communal experience. And I think this is just a great opportunity for all people to meet with one another under positive circumstances. Typically you're not meeting with law enforcement or anything in great circumstances. And I think this is a unique opportunity for adolescents, youth, families, businesses, whatever it may be, to all be in one place, have some good times, have some good entertainment, get some resource connection for people, and really to know what's out there. And I think the good thing is that Somerville really drives into people that there are resources and you can connect to them. And I think this is just another way for people to know that.
So you and I had the opportunity to actually go physically to Foss Park, and again, trying to be cognizant of the fact that you are brand new. You live in a city that isn't as great as Somerville, but really understanding, when I say, oh, it's held in this large park, that's very different than actually going there and physically seeing the space. So when we walked over to Foss Park, what were your first impressions of this huge, unwieldy, giant space at the intersection of McGrath and Broadway?
My first inclination was to be like, okay, how are we going to utilize this space? And I'm trying to envision everything that we can do. It was certainly a busy area, which I think lends well to the visual of people seeing the event. A lot of people can drive by right there on the corner of McGrath and Broadway, and they can see, what's going on over there. And it was a nice, unique space. I think that there's not a lot of green space in the world these days, especially when you're getting closer to Boston. And it's a pretty large space that a lot of people can enjoy. And I think you're going to get a lot of people walking by or just kind of driving by and being like, what's going on over there? But I hope that they'll know about it before that.
One thing that I've referenced in conversations about this in the past, but it's just one of my favorite stories. We were there a number of years back setting up, earlier in the day. So you do have some interest from people who are like, these people are building a stage, or there are tables, or kind of wanting to know what's happening. And I had the opportunity to interact with a woman who was cutting through the park, who had just moved to Somerville like the Saturday before this. So she's only been there, the 4 days, had a family with her as well, and was cutting through and was like, what's happening? And it was the perfect way to connect with her. I was like, we'll be done, setting up in a few hours, come back. I was like, and you can learn about all these things. Like if you stop by the library table, they're going to be able to tell you about all this programming that is specific to the ages of your children, events and clubs that you may be interested in. Like there's really great opportunity. And she was like, oh, okay, we're still unpacking. And she walked off, and I was kind of like, well, I hope, like at least you had the chance to make the connection. But she came back and brought her family, and it was really nice to be able, she made a point to say hello and then to kind of watch them go around to all of the various tables. And for someone who's brand new to the community, she had moved here from somewhere else, to realize, like, look at what we have. Because so many communities, particularly as we get into leaner fiscal times, don't have the resources that we do. So it's really great to have that advantage.
And I think another unique thing is that we have a broad array of people that come from the community partners. It's not just resources for mental health or resources for substance use or, things like that, but there's also fun things that people want to go to, like, healthy activities or Shape Up Somerville, things that maybe people don't know too much about, but once they see it in front of them, they'll be like, wow, I know that, or I've seen that before, tell me a little bit more. And I think having that real diverse group of community partners really lends well to people seeing that there's a lot to offer. And, you can access it at any time, at any place, whenever you may need it.
I think too, I mean, the date is set nationally being the first Tuesday of the month, but I think it's kind of a nice time of the year too. So if you are a parent of young children, they've been out of school for a month, everybody's getting a little crazy at this point, but you still have a lot of time before school sets back in the structure that's in place. So it is nice to find out about programs and opportunities that you may not know have existed. One thing that is always great and kind of has a built-in audience for us is I pointed out to you, the pool is sited there, the MDC pool. So having that, DCR pool now, I'm sorry, it's not MDC anymore. You have families that are coming and going, and individuals popping in for a swim after work and realizing they're kind of coming through the event or parallel to the event, and being, that sense of, you get the energy around it even when setup is happening. That definitely pulls people in to be like, I wonder what's going on over there. And it doesn't look like you can't go find out. It obviously is a very welcome sort of venue, so people are definitely intrigued enough to come on over and see what they can find out.
And I'm looking forward to experiencing that for myself. As I'm reaching out to community partners and people who've attended in the past, they start with saying, this is one of the best events I go to. And I'm like, wow, I need to know what this is. And I'm a part of this, and I'm kind of, organizing it. So I want to make sure that I'm living up to those expectations. And I really do think that from what I've heard, it's only an event that can continue to grow and continue to allow people to enjoy it.
It's nice to utilize the open space, as you had mentioned. We're such a densely populated area that having green space is a luxury, and having that much green space is amazing. And, we're kind of thoughtful about the location of it as well. You want an area that is accessible to people. You want public transportation to be a viable option for people around there. That intersection, as we know, is hugely busy, but also really provides a good opportunity for people as they're commuting there beforehand, will they be able to see the banner up indicating when the event is happening, to make a mental note of that and realize, like, this is something on your way home, stop and find out more.
And I know for me, as I'm commuting, I drive by it all the time. And to think, sitting in that light and waiting for it, that I can look to the right and see maybe there's something going on, I can maybe stop off and get it and get involved in. I wouldn't be opposed to that, so I hope other people aren't as well.
I'm sure. It's typically very well attended every year. So in preparation, I know that you've reviewed a couple of clips from it in years past. So as you watch the clip, what kind of caught your attention about the energy of it? I know Joe Constantine had compiled a clip for us before, and it really did touch on a lot of the different parts of it. So seeing it, what did you think?
I think I really enjoyed seeing the amount of people that were there interacting with one another. I've been to events and things where there are tables, but they're all kind of doing their own thing. And it really seemed like there was a collaborative effort between everybody to talk with one another, even if it was like department to department, walking over and seeing, what do they got going on over there, and that every table had some type of an interactive component to it. So, it wasn't just I'm going to grab a brochure and keep walking. There were activities that the kids and the families were drawn into, and everybody was smiling. Everybody looked like they were having a really good time. And I think that's a pretty good sign when it comes to the things that we're organizing and the things that we're trying to accomplish with the event.
I mean, I think of that too, and you kind of look at the variety of tables, as you referenced a little bit earlier. You can find out about the library. You can meet staff from Cambridge Health Alliance. You're able to connect with the Somerville Commission for Women. There are all of these different ways. If you're looking for ways to engage with your community, this is a great event for that. The one thing that we continue to emphasize in Health and Human Services is, while we want to be viewed as an entry point for people and a point of resource information, the reality is we don't want someone to pass by if it doesn't apply to them. Because the place where we're all at now, if I gather information and I bring it home and it's not relevant to my immediate family, I'm sure there's a friend, a neighbor, a colleague. So I think as we kind of make the mind shift of all of us being responsible for having the most up-to-date information for things, and this event is a really great way to be like, gather all the information from all the tables, because you may not have a question about the most walkable routes in the city, but maybe when you're, cutting your grass, we all have little Somerville yards, but when you're planting in front, your neighbor may be like, I'm interested in taking a new path to work, and you're able to be like, here's this great route that I just learned of.
Yeah, it's really, you don't have to go into it with any expectations of like, I need to go and get this resource, I need to find out more. You can walk in and find out so many things that maybe you may not use right away, but down the road when you're walking down the street, you're like, hey, I remember seeing that. And I think that's really all that we're hoping for in so many different ways, because so many people say, I don't know if this existed, or I didn't know that existed, and we really want to make sure people are seeing that, and that it's out there and well known. And I think that's the unique aspect of this event, because as we've mentioned, it's a different event where it's balanced between the community and it's the police and the law enforcement and EMTs and fire, along with the community partners and the children, and that's really kind of all that we want from the event.
I mean, it's a great time every year. One thing, without giving away any secrets about surprises or performances, because we want people to come, can we talk a little bit just about the structure of the event? So the event begins at 5 p.m., and then we're looking at, there's a speaking portion, if you want to talk briefly about that.
So we'll probably have, it starts at 5, there will be music playing, most likely throughout.
And we'll pull you in.
Yeah, exactly. I'll probably be singing, probably not.
We all heard that now.
There's no commitments. And then at 5:30, we'll have the mayor will speak, representatives from the police departments will speak. I'll probably say a little message to people. I will not sing. And then we'll have some entertainment, probably in 15-minute increments. We're hoping to have teen empowerment be part of that, and have some teens speak to some of their stories.
They bring a really great energy. It definitely is interesting to see kind of like the ramping up of the crowd as well, and the support for young people. And traditionally in the past, as they've done spoken word or read poems or other creations, it really is amazing to see at that young of an age the level of poise that is brought while talking about things that are so difficult to navigate. So as you talked about the balance a little while ago, we do try to be very thoughtful in that in terms of performances. So we have some more lighthearted, something, more content heavy, and then we always segue into what is one of my favorite things in the world, which is the canine demonstration, which is amazing. So I think you saw a bit of that on one of the clips.
It was quite comical to see. You know, people were laughing at kind of how the state police and the dog kind of interacted. But yes, that will again be a component of the demonstrations, along with the vehicles of EMTs and firefighters and police.
So what is your hope in your new role now? What is your hope that you want the community members to walk away from with this? Attending this event should bring what to them?
I hope joy, and I think resources.
I like setting the bar high.
Yeah, I think at least joy and resources, and knowing that there are good, wholesome people looking to help, and that they're only a call away, they're only a door, maybe next door away, and you know, there aren't barriers to access these things. And I think getting people all in one centralized location and seeing that, wow, there's a lot of different things here, would really be my hope. And that people really understand that we're here to help.
Great. I don't know if you had a chance to see on any of the previous clips, but things that are always, people are drawn to like moth to a flame. Our first responders are great partners in this. So we have Cataldo Ambulance, our Somerville Fire, and our Somerville Police. And the energy that kids have to like run to, I would have been afraid of an ambulance when I was younger, but they want to be on the gurneys and brought into it. And in the sense of being able to access this equipment is amazing. It's really cool to stand back and watch the just level of excitement that they're up in a fire truck, and then they're getting a picture taken on a police motorcycle. And
I think one of the best things I saw was they were playing with the lights and the sirens. And I think it's that educational component where you can have a lot of fun and learn a lot of things at the same time. And part of this that's kind of the goal of all of this, is to have some fun and to learn about the resources and the people that are around you to help.
Right. I mean, Mayor Curtatone often references, as does Chief Fallon, the need for the community to see us as their partners, whether it's government employees, the police and fire departments. As you had said earlier, you know, a person's first interaction may be negative, and we're really taking a lot of steps to try to make sure that that isn't happening. The police and fire department have a lot of great programs that they're working with community members and with young people to set that as a baseline with a positive interaction. So later on, if you do need services from those organizations, you're able to have a different level of comfort with that.
Yeah, and it's that therapeutic alliance, you know, that aligning with people where, you know, we're not going to get anywhere if we're combating one another or not working together. And I think this is just a great event for people to see the other side. And, you know, the police officer is also maybe a resident, you know, or most likely a resident. And the concerns that you have may be just as similar to their concerns, and that you can work together and not against one another.
Well, I love the level of enthusiasm that you're bringing to this. No, really, I mean, initially, even from the beginning, when you first heard about the event and realized that the planning of it was going to fall under your purview, you dove right in, which, you know, I really appreciate, particularly because sometimes it is very daunting. I mean, you're new to a system, you're new to all of this, and this is not, you know, planning a party for 10 people. This is hundreds of people at an outdoor.
Event planning was not one of the things I thought I would be doing, but.
Did we not see that on your resume? Okay.
But I very much enjoy that piece because it's a different thing that I can dive right into, and if I can help in any way that I can, that's all that I really care about. So if it's gonna do good for other people in the city of Somerville, then I'm all for it.
Excellent. So if people are looking for more information, they can reach you through the main city number, 617-625-6600. You are extension 2570. They'll be able to connect with you if they're interested in finding out more specifics about the event, how they can become involved.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on, and we're looking forward to a hugely successful event.
Thank you again.
Thank you. As always, I'd like to thank the production crew, Joe Constantine and Steve DiCarlo. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next month.